Are we ready to do the message itself? Okay. We're just making sure that you...
Alrighty. I'm getting the signal that we are good to go. What an incredible opportunity to be able to join you this morning. Good morning, good morning. We can hear me. Yes, we love it when technology works. What a gift. So for those of you who know me, welcome. For those of you who don't, my name is Lily Sandberg. My pronouns are she, her, and I am joining you from Albuquerque, New Mexico. This is where I was born and raised, like the bio that was read at church. I am born and raised in Unity, and I'm grateful to be able to have this opportunity to join you this morning. From my home to yours, welcome. And first, I wanted to begin with a land acknowledgement. This is something that I've seen a few churches do, and I've really enjoyed, and so I'm incorporating it into my space as well. And so it's an opportunity to tell me where you're joining. So either on the church's live stream or on mine, if you would just comment where you're joining from, I would appreciate that. And if you know, I would love for you to acknowledge the native land that you are on right now. This is the land that was taken from Indigenous folks, and so it is important for us to be able to acknowledge where we are. And so I am joining you from Tiwa territory, and if you don't know what native land you are occupying, there is an incredible resource called Native Lands. It's either a website or an app, and so you can figure out the land that you are on, whose land it was, and learn about the people and the culture. So I invite you to just let me know where you're coming in from today. And so as we were talking about, if you've seen any of my live videos before this, I was asked to guest speak by the Reverend Sarah Phillips. Known each other for a while, and so it was such an honor to be asked. And so I am going to be speaking on one of the chapters in the book, How to Pray Without Talking to God, by Linda Martello Whitsett, which is an incredible book. If you're in the Unity movement, you've probably heard about it. It's been around for a while. If you're newer to Unity or just interested about another piece of what may be on your spiritual path, interested in prayer, this is a great book to be able to jump into. And so I'll be talking on chapter 4 this morning, which is the practice of denials and affirmations in prayer. I like to bring a lot of honesty and authenticity to my talks because I feel like it's important for us to acknowledge that it's not always easy to be a spiritual person in the world today. Denials can be tricky depending on if you're new to this practice or if you are a seasoned veteran in the spiritual realm. Denials can be tricky, and we're not going to be talking about the psychological denial. Denials are practices that we pair with affirmations in Unity, specifically seen in the fourth Unity principle, that this is one of our tools that we can utilize. And from Linda Martello Whitsett, we're going to be jumping into how these can be used not only in our lives, but also in our prayer practice. And so let's dive into denials. What I love about this book is Linda Martello Whitsett brings some incredible humor to denials and to her writing. And so she said, "One day, my kitchen sink clogged. The garbage disposal became useless. I thought if I added something coarse to the drain, whatever was stuck would loosen, and the watery material collecting in the sink would drain. I emptied a bucket of ice cubes from the freezer. Water level rose. I cut up a few lemons, lemon soup. Nothing added would allow the sink to drain. Eventually, I realized I would have to remove the blockage by pulling it out, not pushing it through, in order to clean the drain. When our minds are congested with unconscious assumptions and limiting beliefs, repeating affirmations is like adding ice cubes and lemons to a clogged sink. First, we must clear away the mental congestion." And that is the process of spiritual denials. Spiritual denials is disidentification with, reunification of, an elimination of thoughts and beliefs that we realize are contrary to spiritual truth. So denials make space. They make space for what is true. They make space beyond the appearance of what we feel and what we believe is true into the realm of capital T truth. And denials do not deny the reality that a lot of times when we are getting good at practicing denials, or we are starting on this journey of being able to incorporate them into our lives, we see that it can feel like denials are here to be contrary to the experience. And I think a lot of times we decide not to use denials because they don't feel good. Or Unity believes that we should be positive all the time, and so denials feel contrary to that. But denials are actually part of our spiritual practice and our spiritual responsibility to be able to show up in the world, be able to call a thing, that if it sucks, we call it that it sucks. And we can move past those feelings and what appears to be facts, shifting into truth and being able to take the power away from anything that is not actually true and refocus on that truth. And so denials, in their purest form, are used to make that space. And so Linda Martellowitz says, let's be clear, spiritual denial from psychological denial. Denial in psychology is refusal to face facts and avoidance of feelings. Psychological denial leads to self-delusion as well as unconscious action and inaction. In the practice of spiritual denials, we do not deny facts or feelings. We do not pretend our feelings or circumstances away. We do not deny pain, whether physical or emotional. We do not try to convince ourselves that this is not happening. That we are able to say in a bold and true way that this is what's happening, and I know that there is a power within me to make this better, to see the truth, to be able to be clearer in my vision of this world. True denial corrects consciousness. True denial erases beliefs in being only human in our consciousness. That we believe in unity, our second unity principle tells us that we are fully human and fully divine. And so denials support us in being able to shift from that only human process of thought into our we are divine too thoughts. And denials can be tricky. You know, I was born and raised in unity, and denials, I feel like, are the unsung heroes. They're forgotten in our spiritual practice because they're not always easy. And so good denials, Linda Martellowitz told us, they are able to be clear about what we are feeling and what we believe to be facts. So being able to engage in a denial is a process of self-awareness and self-discovery. That in order to have a denial be useful and to be utilized in a spiritual way, we have to first take a moment to be able to ask ourselves the question, what do I believe to be true? What do I believe is fact? So for example, I got back from a trip just last night actually, and I was in Ohio visiting one of my favorite people. And leaving on an airplane, it's kind of hard when you say goodbye to someone you really care about. And so what I was feeling was some sadness. I was already feeling some loneliness. And I believed for a fact that in some of those moments that my heart would break. But when I was able to take a step back, to be able to see that that is my human experience, that I am fully entitled to and should fully feel, and realize that it feels real right now, and I believe that it was going to be a fact, that I can identify what I'm feeling, and I can identify what I believe to be true. And I am able to utilize the power of denials to be able to say, I release the power of this belief that my heart will break, knowing that I am centered in the strength of God. That is a denial and an affirmation paired up right there. And that's the work of denials, is sometimes we jump right into affirmations. Whatever you attach your I am to, that can be your affirmation. We are taught in unity. But I feel like there is a complexity to be able to utilize the denial to make space and an affirmation to recenter on the truth, that we are called to be able to bring that into companionship. And so Linda Martella-Whitsett tells us that we are able to utilize denials in the process of denying negative interpretations of circumstance. How often in the world does it feel like there are no good people in this world because we are only seeing the stuff that we've coded as negative on the news? That we are able to deny that negative interpretation of circumstance, whether that is our circumstance or the circumstance that we see in others or the circumstance that we have made it true in the world. And one of the most powerful pieces of a denial that often people push back on when they are getting clear about how denials are really utilized within the spiritual practice is being able to deny an identification with a condition. And so what she means by that is when we are sick, sometimes we say, I'm sick. And we know that there is power in what we attach our I am to. And so instead of saying I am sick or calling it my diabetes or I'm a migraine sufferer, she says that we can shift the script of being able to see these as symptoms that are true and certainly feel true in the moment. And denials do not deny that experience. But she is encouraging us to be able to utilize language of truth in denials. And to be able to utilize something like the example she gives, the origin of my life is not my body or my circumstance. I am not my conditions. Nothing can take over my divine identity. No temporary condition could possibly define me or limit the fullness of my divine life. That is being able to say, I am beyond this circumstance. I am beyond this pain. I am beyond this body. I am beyond this condition. And I am not that. We are not our body. We are not our pain. We are not our trauma, though they are absolutely vital to be able to feel and acknowledge as fact for us in our human experience. Because when we don't do that and we just bypass to all the good, we are shortchanging the ability to remove that power and bring it back to us. Denials are one of the most surefire things that I can do to feel like I have power in my life. For those of you who know me, you know that that is very important for me. And I bet it could be important for you because in this human experience, we are all here to figure out the spaces and the places that we can be seen, heard, and validated in the truth of who we are. And denials support us in being able to remove the blockage in order to see that. And so the beauty of this book, which I encourage you if you're interested to pick it up and read it yourself and take little bits and pieces because it's great to chew on, is Linda Martella-Whitsett gives us 4 steps of good denials. And so the first one is a provocation. To be able to say, something in my life is no longer working for me and I'm going to change it. It's that feeling when those feelings of blame or shame or that you are just in dissonance with a way of being or a circumstance that used to serve you and is not anymore. And so it's identifying that stirring within you to shift. That is the first step. To acknowledge when that is happening, to be able to engage in the process of denials. And then we are called to heighten our spiritual awareness. And so being able to say, this is not a one-stop shop that is going to cure everything in my life and the life around me. It's a spiritual practice. And we are asked to engage in this practice on a regular basis because we know that when we are disciplined in our practice, we increase our awareness. It's just like growing a muscle. You're not going to get muscles overnight. You have to continuously utilize these practices to be able to grow that spiritual muscle, if you will. And one of my favorite things in what she says in her steps is we are able to utilize words for denials. That in unity, we believe in the 12 powers, that they are the 12 faculties within our bodies, each and every one of us that is active in every moment, whether we are utilizing them or not, but we have the ability to call forward one of those 12 powers to utilize very clearly in the way that we need it to. And so power, which is the 12th power for May actually, has a faculty placement in the body of the back of the tongue. And so it's linked to the power of the word. And so when we are talking about denials, words are important. From the author, she says that words reflect our understanding. Words of denial should be natural and unforced. So figuring out, not putting on a script that spiritual people would be utilizing, but figuring out what are the words that feel right and true for me in this moment. Because those are the ones that we are called to utilize. And then she says, we close it with an amen. Being able to trust that it is done, being able to say that when I move through the process of utilizing spiritual denials, we can trust that we did the work that was ours and the good work when the stirring came, and when we utilize denials regularly, and when we're using words with power behind them, we can say amen. She says the flush following denial signifies ending and beginning again. We say amen, the connotation of which is commonly understood as the end. Amen also marks a beginning. The Aramaic word for amen can be translated as, this is the foundation from which I proceed in truth. This is the foundation from which I proceed in truth. And when we utilize denials, we have swept away anything that is not true, and we have made space for what can be. And so we know, and I hinted at, that the power of denials is in partnership with affirmations. And many of us, even if you're outside of the Unity movement, you may have heard about affirmations. It's becoming a little bit of a spiritual buzzword, affirmations, to be able to declare, I am, and refocus our energy knowing that that is the truth of who we are. And so Linda Martello Whitsett gives us a great definition that says an affirmation is a declaration of spiritual truth that when we speak it, fixes our attention on truth. An affirmation supports us in the way an anchor holds a boat steady in its position on the water. An affirmation is a claim on truth, our demand on truth to establish itself in mind and heart. An affirmation rightfully follows a denial of limiting or negative belief. And so the keys to a good affirmation is to be specific, to utilize what she calls potent language, of being able to utilize those powerful words that have feeling that bring up in us, and to be able to reach for comprehension of the most accessible, inarguable truth. That there are so many days when we feel like there is maybe not enough time. That's one of mine. That's one of the ones that I come back to a lot. That it feels like I don't have enough time. Or that things are starting and I'm worried about what that may look like. And so one of my favorite parts of this book, just to be fully transparent, is at the end, she really puts into practice how to do this. And so she gives an example of what this may look like for someone. And so we're going to go through it so we can see all the pieces together. And so for the example, she says, I am praying about whether or not to embark on a new project. How many of us are there or have been there recently? Something new is on the horizon. And so being able to say the facts. The project I'm considering appeals to me on many levels. My calendar is full, and I have a history of taking on more than I can manage well. I think she wrote it just for me, maybe just for you too. And so the feelings that she identifies is fascination and being thrilled with the possibilities, some hesitation about whether this is the right choice, and then coming back to the underlying belief, because all of this work that we are doing with denials and affirmations, all is encouraging us to go deeper. And the underlying belief is, there's not enough time, I cannot trust my inner guidance, and I am never satisfied. And so we call in a denial to be able to release and to be able to eliminate, to be able to make space. And so she says, I relinquish attention on stress and worry about my use of time. I reject the thoughts that time could run out, that important things could be left undone, and that I could lose in any way. I stop giving power to the clock. I refuse to be run by the clock. I deny the power I have given to my false beliefs about time. I stop distrusting my own inner knowing. I renounce the idea that I could never do enough to feel fulfilled. So being able to utilize those words, I deny, I release, I stop, I renounce, I give up, that is making space in this denial process about time. And she follows with an affirmation. Wonderful opportunities catch my attention because I am divine imagination, capable of vividly picturing the possibilities. My divine life is limitless, and I am free to explore any and every prospect. I am divine wisdom. Time stands still for me as I wholeheartedly savor the moment. So being able to go through this process of being able to say, this isn't working for me. What are the facts and the feelings? What are the underlying beliefs? And then utilizing the power of denials and affirmations is what this chapter is telling us is a piece of our process. And I would like to say that as people of this world, we are called and have a responsibility to not only know what is alive for us and take care of the things happening in our house, but that is our responsibility to do so that others not only see us doing it and are inspired to do it themselves, but also so that we can show up as the best versions of ourselves in this world. That if we don't utilize denials and we get caught in this system of toxic positivity and just I-amming everything away without making space, we are not at our best and brightest versions of ourselves. And that is a responsibility, I believe, in this world. To figure out what is in my way and take care of that so that I can show up and support others in doing this work. But it all starts with us. And it all comes back, I believe, to the power that we have that can be expressed through our words and our actions. And so I invite us to utilize this practice. Like sometimes we sit in church and, yep, that was fine and great, and I feel so inspired, and then I go back into my old habits of not utilizing these principles or not utilizing them to their fullest extent, or I'm too scared to be able to try something new, and what if I fail? Denial's just like anything else you will get good at if you work at it. And there are plenty of people who are good at denials and affirmations who would be happy to help you on this journey. And so I invite us to just take all of this as we turn into a few moments of meditation. And so if you are in your home, I invite you to get comfortable. If you are in a sanctuary right now, I invite you to get comfortable. But whatever that looks like for you, for your body, for where you are right now in this moment, just get comfortable. And have your breath, just find a rhythm. Whatever that looks like for your breath, I invite you to sink into a pattern. A pattern of inhales and a pattern of exhales. And so in this moment of breath, I invite you to just feel your body right now. I invite us to start at our head, and if there is anything that is a worry, a stress, a wondering, I invite you to just notice what that is. We know that these thoughts are coming forward to be noticed. And so we just take a moment to notice them. And I invite you to sink into your heart. Just check in with your heart. How are you doing? What's alive for you? What may be weighing heavy on your heart? We know that just like our thoughts, these feelings are coming up because they are alive and they are for us in this moment. And so we take a moment to just scan our body. If there are any pieces of stress or tension, pain or discomfort, just notice them and surround them in some healing energy, knowing that divine health is our birthright. And so we take a moment to acknowledge this Holy Trinity that is us right now. Our mind, heart, and body, each playing a vital role in shaping who we are in this moment. And so in this next moment in the quiet, I invite you to just focus on the Trinity that is you, mind, heart, and body. And so in this moment, we know that all that was meant to be said was said. All that was meant to be heard was heard. That each of you received the peace that was yours this morning. And so I invite you to just move your body as it's comfortable, coming back to this space after meditation. I thank you for being on this journey with me. I thank you for having me as your guest speaker in your spiritual communities this morning. Thank you, each of you that tuned in. This is our work that we get to do together, and I am grateful that we are on this journey together. So the world is tough and beautiful, and so are you. And I hope you hold